everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Booze Geek. My name is Charles. I am your host. And on this episode, we are going to be traveling to Shipyard Brewing, which is in Portland, Maine. Not Portland, Oregon, but Portland, Maine. And since we're still in season, we're going to be tasting and reviewing the big, the bold, Smashed Pumpkin Ale. So this beer they introduced into the market in, I think it was 2009. And as I mentioned, it's supposed to be big and bold, but it does clock in at a whopping 9% ABV. Yeah, so it's definitely up there. It's high. But it also has a relatively low IBU of only 18, and it's made with some Saphir and Willamette hops. Now, the interesting thing about this beer is that it should not be the same as your typical pumpkin beers. Most pumpkin beers are meant to have aromas and a flavor profile of almost as if you're pulling a freshly baked pumpkin pie out of the oven. So you're going to get aromas and a flavor of obviously pumpkin, but you're also going to get some baking spices, maybe some cinnamon, some clove, some allspice, things like that. This is not that type of beer. This is just supposed to be a pumpkin ale. So it's supposed to be a beer with some flavors of pumpkin, and that's about it. So I'm really excited to see how this compares to the other type of pumpkin beer that's, generally released around this time of year. So let's crack this open, and let's see how it compares. All right, here we go. Boom, boom. Zero smoke out of the can on that one. But that's okay. Let's give this a nice pour. Well, it's got an orange hue and it's got a definite color of a pumpkin. It's not a dark orange. I mean, it's a darker orange, but yeah, it's got a nice pumpkinish color. About a half a finger or so veil of carbonation, which is just slightly off white. But let's give this a let's give this a swirl in a nose and see how the aromas are. I'm very interested about this beer. Very interested. Very intrigued. Yeah, it's so far it's different. Aromas, it's definitely not like your typical pumpkin beer. I mean, I'm getting some pumpkin puree. There's a slight hint of maybe baked bread. And then, yeah, just the ever so smallest hint of cinnamon in this. And that's it. But we're not getting all the other aromas that should be accustomed to, regular pumpkin beers. But let's give this another good swirl to open it up, and we'll give it a sip here. That's a medium-bodied beer, absolutely. Makes you almost want to chew it because the pumpkin flavor is so predominant. But once again, this is really nice, and it's really different than your standard pumpkin beers. I mean, up front, pumpkin. It's pumpkin puree. And it literally tastes like a mashed up raw pumpkin puree. Really, really nice. Now there's some other, other flavors coming through. And there's a slight hint of cinnamon. There is almost like a burnt brown sugar sweetness as opposed to raw sugar because it's almost like a stinging sweetness. I was going to say it's like a burnt sweetness. But what's really interesting, and I think which makes this stand out, is on the very back end, a little bit of bitterness is coming through, which is not typical in your pumpkin beers. It's coming through subtle, but it's definitely there. And it's a nice alternative, and it's a nice little different take on this. I really like this. I'm going to give this an 8 on the pint-o-meter. This is really well done. It's really different. Well, not really different, but it's different than your standard pumpkin beers that you're going to get this time of year. Yeah, seek this one out. But yeah, I said it's Shipyard Brewing, an interesting take on their pumpkin beers, and yeah, definitely seek it out. But an 8 on the pint-o-meter, and with that being said, I'm going to have one more sip. Chew it up there a little bit. And I want to thank everyone for joining in on this episode. As always, you can follow me at the website, www.pubstohaveapintin.com, at the blog, www.pubstohaveapintin.blogspot.com. And with that being said, you guys have a great day. We'll see you on the next episode. Prost and enjoy.